An invisible countdown clock is ticking away in Hollywood. It isn't counting down to the premiere of a cinematic blockbuster, nor is it waiting for a prestigious Oscar ceremony. This clock is counting down every second, every minute, toward a ruthless legal milestone, July 12th, 2026. That is the day twins Vivienne and Knox turn 18. To the public, it might just be another celebrity birthday. But for Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, it marks the end of an era. The courtroom gavel will finally fall silent. The legal framework that has mandated custody arrangements for a decade will completely collapse. One of the longest, most expensive, and bitterest legal battles in entertainment history will draw to a close, not with a settlement, but through the ultimate triumph of time. For 10 years, the world has watched the fracturing of an icon. Brangelina, a name that once epitomized the pinnacle of love, power, and perfection in Hollywood, has shattered into razor-sharp shards. But as the smoke clears from the allegations, tabloid headlines, and sealed court documents, a naked truth emerges. This was never just a war between a man and a woman. It was a battle for control over the identities of 6 children growing up in the shadow of the courtroom. Throughout a decade of divorce, Brad Pitt's most powerful weapon wasn't his massive fortune or his top-tier legal team. His weapon was court-sanctioned legal access. As long as the children were minors, Angelina Jolie was legally bound to comply with judges' rulings. Allowing the father visitation to maintain a fragile connection, it was a legal safety net. But on July 12th, that shield vanishes forever. When Vivienne and Knox turn 18, all 6 Jolie-Pitt children will officially be independent adults under the law. The court will no longer have the power to dictate who they see, where they stay, or who they spend their holidays with. The ultimate authority, once held by supreme judges, will be transferred entirely to the children themselves. This means that from now on, Brad Pitt's relationship with his children cannot be sustained by administrative orders or coercive clauses. It must rely entirely on a single factor, voluntary consent, and this is a father's ultimate nightmare. When the legal cage opens, will these grown birds choose to fly back to him? Or will they fly far away, leaving behind the painful memories of a childhood torn apart by litigation? Psychological experts note that for children enduring parental alienation or the intense psychological pressure of high-profile divorces, turning 18 is more than a biological milestone. It is a declaration of independence. They are no longer disputed assets in a lawyer's file. They are autonomous human beings with the right to reject or accept the past on their own terms. The Jolie-Pitt children's journey toward autonomy has not happened in silence. It has been marked by highly calculated, deeply symbolic moves. The erasure of the name Pitt. It is often said that a child's surname is a sacred link to their roots and their father. But in this family, the name Pitt seems to have become a symbol of trauma they wish to shed. First was Maddox, the eldest son, who long ago stopped using Pitt in unofficial documents. Then came Zahara, who proudly introduced herself at her university sorority as Zahara Marley Jolie. But the biggest media bombshell came from Shiloh, the couple's first biological child. On her 18th birthday, Shiloh didn't choose a lavish party. She chose to file a petition with the court to legally drop Pitt from her name. She even paid for her own lawyer, signaling absolute financial and ideological independence. Most recently, Vivienne, the youngest daughter, listed her name on a Broadway playbill simply as Vivienne Jolie. Consider this. Dropping a father's name is not merely an act of teenage rebellion. For Gen Z, personal identity is their most valuable asset. When 6 children collectively reject the name Pitt, It sends a silent but devastating message directly to Brad Pitt and the world. It is their way of reclaiming control after a decade of adult interference. They choose not to walk in the shadow of a powerful but fractured father. They choose to stand by their mother, the one who walked beside them through their darkest crises. For Brad Pitt, his children's public rejection across global media is an emotional punishment far more painful than any monetary fine a court could impose. It proves a brutal truth. He may have won clauses on paper, but he lost the battle for his children's hearts. As the custody battle nears its natural expiration, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt have not stopped. Instead, they have redirected their anger and legal machinery toward a new battlefield, one fueled by money, status, and property. The Chateau Miraval estate in France. Miraval is not just a $100 million vineyard producing world-class rosé. It was once a paradise, the place where the couple held a secret wedding in 2014, witnessed by their 6 children. Today, that paradise has transformed into a graveyard of beautiful memories, where 2 of Hollywood's biggest titans are locked in an endless legal feud. Brad Pitt alleges that Angelina Jolie secretly sold her half of the winery to a Russian oligarch without his consent, violating an initial agreement. He views her actions as a calculated act of personal revenge designed to sabotage the business he poured his passion into. Conversely, Angelina Jolie's camp offers a far darker, more bitter reason. She revealed that she initially wanted to sell her shares back to Brad Pitt to untangle herself from the asset. However, negotiations collapsed when Pitt demanded a prerequisite. Angelina had to sign a strict non-disclosure agreement, NDA. This clause would have barred her from speaking publicly or in court about his alleged history of domestic abuse against the family. That NDA wasn't a standard business procedure. It was a legal muzzle. A source close to the actress shared, Angelina Jolie refused to sign. For her, accepting silence in exchange for money was a betrayal of herself and her children. Selling her shares to a third party wasn't about the money. It was a desperate attempt to sever the final tie binding her to her ex-husband. With no minor children left to fight over, Chateau Miraval became a proxy war. Every lawsuit filed is less about land and more about venting the unhealed anger, bitterness, and trauma of 2 people who once loved each other to a fault. Looking back at this decade-long battle of the century, one question remains. Who actually won? Angelina Jolie seemingly got what she wanted, the fierce loyalty and love of her 6 children. But the price she paid was 10 years of her prime consumed by chronic stress, a disrupted film career, and a public image frequently stained by the media's vengeful ex-wife narrative. Brad Pitt, while maintaining his Hollywood luster, awards, and new romantic relationships, faces a hollow reality in his personal life. He has everything except the children he helped raise. The children's alienation from him wasn't built overnight. It was cemented year after year, from the harrowing memories of that fateful 2016 plane ride to a decade of watching their parents tear each other apart in the headlines. Once July 12th passes, and Vivienne and Knox cross the threshold into adulthood, Brad Pitt will have to learn to parent in an entirely new reality, a reality without lawyers, court orders, or mandated hours. If he wishes to heal these bonds, he must strip away his superstar ego, step out of his lawyer's offices, and face his children with absolute humility, remorse, and patience. A deeply fractured family bond is like a shattered crystal vase. Piecing the shards back together takes time, and sometimes the greatest punishment. For past mistakes isn't hatred, it is the indifferent silence of those you once loved most. The divorce of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt will go down in Hollywood history as a cautionary tale about the true cost of brokenness. It proves that even with all the wealth, power, and fame in the world, you cannot buy a child's trust if you plant seeds of trauma in their soul. The twins' 18th birthday on July 12th is not a Hollywood happy ending. It is the quiet beginning of a much more grounded reality. As the paparazzi lenses cool down and the court files finally gather dust, the Jolie-Pitt children will at last have what they deserved 10 years ago: the freedom to choose their own paths, to love on their own terms, and to write their own futures, unburdened by the colossal shadow of their parents. The countdown clock is about to stop. The courtroom gavel is ready to fall one last time. And as silence returns, a new generation finally steps into their own freedom.